بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Since September 2019, the Islamic Education Trust Human Welfare Department has positively touched over 6,500 lives through its intervention program, the food aid program, the financial aid program, Qurbani meat distribution during Eid al-Adha, Widows Empowerment Program, the Orphan Care Program, and the Tree Planting Program. For this good work to continue and be sustained, we need your continuous support. Jazakumullahu khairan as we look forward to your generous donation. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Viewers, you are welcome back to our discussion on marriage. In the first part of this program, Sheikh Muhammad Isa Aliyu was taking us through some areas, some information which we need very passionately in order to solve some marital problems. The other time, before we left for the short break, you are giving some point regarding those issues and how marriage problems can be solved. You mentioned many points, but I would like you to emphasize some of these points, especially if you can help us mention 3 preventive measures that can be put in place in order to avoid marital problems.
Okay. The 3 preventive measures that can avoid the occurrence of marital problems are: number 1, a lovely look. A look that is from the eyes, you can see sympathy, you can see affection, you can see a smile out of the look. So a lovely look and a smile, they're together. That's the second one. Then the third one is a hug. A husband and wife should be used to hugging one another, holding the hands of one another. These preventive measures will make either the husband or the wife take things easy, even if there's misunderstanding. There won't be much of annoyance, anger, or hatred in the way you even address the issue, let alone to even invite a third person into the issue, because you've reached a stage whereby you understand each other. I know he will not deceive me. I know he doesn't hate me. I know he likes me. So it may be just a minor mistake. Let's sit down and just sort it out. This is the message it sends, those preventive measures.
Thank you very much. You also mentioned the issue of preventive measures. Can you give us 3 of these for people to understand better what you mean by this?
Yes, the curative measures is that already a problem has started. And before it escalates, how do we make sure we just bring it to an end quickly? The first one is, you're talking now, avoid the use of second person, let alone even pointing a finger at the other. You did this. You are always like this. This is what you used to do. That word "you" shouldn't be there. You can discuss with your wife at times about, you heard of a couple somewhere that one of them usually does this. What is her view about that? You may be surprised that even her herself doesn't like that thing. Then when she's, okay, so let's pick it as a lesson so that we don't do it in our house. You see? But if you say you did this, and yesterday that's what you did, and about a week ago, you, now she feels as if it is an incurable disease. So what do we do now? Before you know it, you're thinking of separation, because you get fed up with one another easily. Approach matters a lot. The second one is apologizing. Why apologizing? Because you can even offend somebody unknowingly. In our society, we believe everything is deliberate and it's intentional. You did it just to annoy me. You may be passing and your leg hits something and something falls down and gets broken. The owner, you say, I knew you deliberately, that's what you intended doing. So whatever being the case, you should be used to apologizing. And there's nothing, you are losing nothing when you apologize. It doesn't cause any injury in your body. I don't think there's much calorie that you lose and say, I'm sorry. But it's the most difficult sentence for most couples. Particularly husbands, I'm sorry to say that. Because he feels he's superior. Why should I apologize? But when you apologize, it means you have made it compulsory upon your partner to also apologize when he or she commits the same kind of mistake. The third one is try to make everything confidential. This thing has happened, has died, let's bury it. Not to go and take your phone. Hello? Yes, we've already reconciled, but he did this, he did. You have made it on record somewhere else. And that place will still press the button sometimes in the future. And it will pain both of you. Particularly the other person who doesn't even knows that you have already made that thing no longer a secret. So curative measures is avoid second person, apologize, and keep it confidential. And when it dies, just bury it. That is forgive and forget. Don't say I have forgiven, but it's still there. No.
Thank you very much. We may have a situation whereby the marriage problems are getting worse. In spite of the initial arrangement to nip the problems in the bud. What can we do? Can you mention 3 things or 3 ways by which we can handle this?
Yes. There is what we call a makeable settlement, and it's in Arabic, sulh. Sulh can be made between you and your wife, and if there's somebody you trust that will maintain the confidentiality of the issue, he can come in, he or she can come in. But it's based on agreement between both of you. It happened during the days of the Prophet ﷺ, when he had misunderstanding with Aisha radiallahu anha, and he feels there's a need of somebody to come in. And he asked her, should I call Umar radiallahu anhu? She said no. Why? Because Umar is also the Prophet's in-law. His daughter is Hafsa, and he is a co-wife with her. So then he said, should I call your father Abu Bakr? She said yes. But that was the first time that Abu Bakr would come in. And Abu Bakr, the way he respects the Prophet ﷺ, and he was shocked that the Prophet said he should come. Then the shock was greater when he noticed that Aisha was still sitting there. And he was surprised. He usually the Prophet calls him, but for a very, very serious issue between the two of them, or the Ummah, and they discuss some issues. But for Aisha to still be there, then the Prophet ﷺ was even asking Aisha, now I have invited a coach, a judge between us. Should I be the first to speak, or you will be the first to speak? You can imagine the Prophet ﷺ now asking who is to first say something. Then she allowed him to start talking. So that tells you that when it reaches a stage, you can invite somebody. But even if you invite somebody, the second thing is tolerance must be there. There are some people that when they get annoyed, it doesn't go down again. He only fires it up. And I believe even if it is a car, at the end of the day, you fall inside a pit or inside a river. At times, even when you're moving in a speed, you reduce the speed to avoid a certain problem. So also when you're annoyed, don't say no. When I get annoyed, some people describing themselves. That's already a problem on its own. You are nobody but a human being. So when you get annoyed, please. And tolerance is, I hate this kind of thing that he always does. Or I hate so thing that she does. The word tolerance must be there. If not in the first place, this is where you find marriages that only last for 1 week or for 1 month, or for even less than that, because there's no tolerance in the first place. And the last one is if it exceeds this level, the aforementioned, the ones I just mentioned, then there can be the word the Quran told us, فَبَعْثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ إِنْ يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. You should send a delegate from his own family and a delegate from her family, if truly they are looking for settlement, Allah will guide them towards arriving at a very, very amicable settlement. No.
Thank you very much. The discussion is getting more interesting by second. You can have a situation where what we call gradual deterioration of relationship comes in when marital problems are getting complicated. What steps can we take?
So you go back to the drawing board, because in most cases, when you try all the things we've just mentioned, call it the preventive measures, the curative measures, measures to be taken or steps to be taken when it worsens, then when it becomes very, very complicated, the issue of going back to true love and tolerance is very, very important. And it's important to use this opportunity to tell us that there are different types of love. Even Islam addresses those issues. And when you mix a particular love with that of marriage, you complicate many things. There is what we call al-hubbu fillah. You love somebody for the sake of Allah. And this exists between the believers. Al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. All believers, male and female, they are lovers of one another. That one is faith. Don't mistake it for the love for marriage, because some you may meet because, yes, she's faithful, but it's not that he's interested in her as a wife. But in one way or the other, marriage comes in. Then you see that immediately after the marriage, you say, but they have been good brothers and sisters, and they communicate. He knows much of the Quran and the Hadith, and they love this. But why the problem? Because there's a type of love that is missing from the beginning. There's what we call love of affection. And that is what brings a very, very successful marital life. And there's humanitarian love. That one is because he's a human being, he had an accident, you sympathize with his situation. But it can switch over to marriage, and it causes problems as well. So there is sympathetic love, there's humanitarian love, there's sentimental love. I love him because he's my cousin, who is from my hometown. All this love of affection is the one that fits into marriage. So when it reaches that complicated, you go back and address the issue of love. Do you really love one another? Then the last and the one that is like the twin brother of it is tolerance. But it doesn't mean that if tolerance cannot work again, separation is a problem. No. Islam has already put it there. And it's a way out. And even if they separate, doesn't mean that one of them is bad or one is good. It's not the issue of good and bad. It's the situation itself. The situation does not accept their being together there. No.
Thank you very much. In a few seconds, can you summarize what we call the best and worst? The best and worst approaches to marital solving marital problems.
Very, very, very interesting question. A great scholar has just put it in this way. He said, "Giltatun falafdhatun fajawab." That is the worst approach. A mistake will just occur. Instead of you to accept as a mistake, falafdhatun, you're stupid, you are this, you are that. Fajawab, then she responds. The statement may be an abuse, and she counter-abuses. If such happen, for shijarun, then there will be too much shouting at one another. For firqatun, there will be separation. For talaku, then there will be divorce. This is how this one happens. That's the phase one, and that's the worst. But the best approach, he said, choose that line, that's where it ends. Tagadin, you overlook. It's a mistake, you saw it, we pretend I didn't see it. If she understands that you overlooked, or he understands that you, the wife, overlooked, for riqatun, he will feel somehow in his heart. He saw it, but you see the way he behaved as if he didn't see it. She saw it, but you see, he just overlooked it. Then there will be some softness in the heart. Further on, and you see tears. If such happen, fight is then one will say, please, I'm sorry for what I've done. On his own, or on her own. Because for instance, you broke something that is very expensive. And you know how he suffered to get that thing. or how she suffered to get that thing. No, don't worry, it's a minor thing. But he knows it's not a minor thing, or she knows it's not a minor thing. For artisan, say, please, I'm sorry for what I've done. For lamsat, and then they will hold each other. For inakwa, and they will hug each other. So it is either you choose the other way or the last one.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Hamad Isa Aliyu. He has been taking us through various ways by which you can get a marital problem solved. And of particular importance is the physical demonstration of this act of willingness to get the problem solved. It's not just talking, but the practicalization of this aspect of the finding solution to the problems. Many people take for granted in their relationship some of these gestures. For example, you talk about smiling. When Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself says, Bashasha to the waji, he says, Sadaqatu. Even for you to display a sort of a smiling face that is pleasurable to your counterpart, to your wife, it's even sadaqah, it's rewardable. So, not to talk of solving problems that otherwise should have broken the marriage. So thank you very much. Dear viewers, I believe you have taken many lessons from this particular discussion, especially as it has to do with how can we get marital problems solved. Since we are together, when two people are together interacting, naturally there will be conflict. But the conflict itself is not problem per se, but how do we handle the conflict? How do we find solutions to the problems? How do we ready to listen to one another? How do we ready to forgo? How do we ready to give in for each other? How do we overlook certain things that we don't make a big deal about certain things? And all this put together go a long way to assist us in solving our marital problems. And the couple, Sheikh Isa is saying that they should be ready to overlook certain things and not to amplify certain things that are not supposed to be amplified. And when there is need, present need to bring in what we call third party, this should be done with the cooperation of the couple. And they have it in their mind that, yes, we are after getting the problem solved. May Allah continue to guide us. Until the next episode, when we come back with another episode, interesting episode, we are saying, Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.